Joining us now is the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller, Amber Athey. Amber, thank you very much for joining us tonight. So we've been hearing about this whole report for months now. I mean, it's been teased several times. Now we seem like we have a definitive date of when it's coming out. What's the word in Washington? Is it similar to what we're reading in the papers?
It looks to me like we are going to see two different narratives come out of this report. Of course, we'll see one from Republicans who are claiming that this is going to be an explosive report that details massive abuse on behalf of the FBI and starting the Russia investigation into the Trump campaign. And then you'll see what's coming out of these leaks to the establishment media papers ahead of the actual drop of the report, which is that this is all a big nothing burger. And Republicans have been overhyping the FISA abuse report for the last year. I spoke to Mark Meadows, of course, a member of the House Freedom Caucus, a few weeks ago about what he expects to see in the report. And he said based on the evidence that he's seen thus far, granted he hasn't seen all of it, he believes there should be criminal indictments coming out of this. We've already seen evidence that an FBI official had allegedly altered documents that led to renewals of FISA warrants against Trump campaign official Carter Page. And then we'll see more additional information about those FISA warrants and whether or not those were justified. Now, this report will not get really deep into the actual origins of the Russia probe. For that, we'll have to wait for John Durham's report. He, of course, is acting on behalf of the DOJ and Attorney General Bill Barr to look into how exactly this investigation and the Mueller investigation got started.
But in regard to this report, too, we already know that there is going to be some wrongdoing highlighted in this report. We don't know exactly what, but if we're going by what the New York Times, Washington Post, Fox, what they're saying is that there's going to be evidence that the dossier was misused, different documents were edited that would substantially change the whole beginnings of this investigation. Does this upcoming report, the Horowitz one, have potential, though, to shake up Washington a little bit, or do we need to wait until Durham's?
Well, it seems like it should, if it's true that there were especially in terms of the Steele dossier, if there were miscalculations or abuse of the FISA process in order to spy on a political opponent. And then, of course, people will want to know how high up did this actually go? Was President Barack Obama aware of the fact that his FBI was being used to spy on a political opponent? Or did perhaps it end with the DOJ? The Steele dossier will be an important part of this, particularly how it was used to gain these warrants. We know from a past report from Devin Nunes that at the very least it was not made clear to people signing off on the warrants that the Steele dossier was in fact funded by the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton. And we'll have to see if that's the case when the Steele dossier was used in other documents as well.
So Durham, a little bit further down the road, do we have an idea really of what Durham is finding or why that investigation is taking a little bit longer since it has since expanded?
Yeah, it's expected to take longer because, as we touched on, it's a lot broader. This is specifically about the origins of the Russia investigation. So that includes, yes, FISA abuse, but also the much broader context of where the dossier information was collected, what the sources were for Michael Steele, whether or not any of the dossier can actually be verified, whether or not there was a press campaign that the FBI was using leaks in order to gin up the desire for an investigation among DOJ officials. There have already been allegations that people that you mentioned, like James Clapper, Andy McCabe, John Brennan, were perhaps circling damaging information in the press and then using sort of a circular means of confirmation by using those press stories to then further confirm the need for an investigation. That was precisely one of the issues with the dossier, was that elements of the dossier were leaked to the press, and then those press reports were used as independent verification, even though they were from the same sources that gave the dossier to the FBI and to the DOJ.
Right, and it was one of those things, too, where the information from the dossier was, I believe, first leaked to CNN. Jay Tapper, I think it was the person, and then they reported on it, and it leaked back into the intelligence community, and that was used as the legitimacy to launch that investigation. So hopefully we should have some more answers next week, but as you said, still a lot of questions to face. But Amber, thank you very much for joining us tonight.